Hello and welcome to The Download from Wise Woman and Wordsmith, where insight meets inspiration. A space for creatives, dreamers and visionaries ready to spark new ideas, ignite purpose and reimagine possibilities. Here we share downloads of wisdom, stories and strategies to help you thrive in your creative journey. I'm your host, Jill Marshall. Tune in, connect and let the magic unfold.
Joy tomorrow.
Welcome all to The Download. Today we're diving into an intriguing idea that was sparked for me by a recent post from entrepreneur Theo Paphitis. I'm sure you'll all know him from Dragon's Den and other programs. He suggests in this post that you don't need a completely original idea to succeed. It's more about how you execute and improve upon what already exists. But how does this align with the download, that moment of pure creative insight? And should we always seek to create something new, or can refining existing ideas be just as powerful? So this is what he shared on LinkedIn. He said, "Inspiration can come from anywhere. You don't need to have an original idea to achieve success. I certainly haven't. What matters is how you do it better than the first person or the next person. Success isn't about waiting for that perfect light bulb moment. It's about being willing to take those all-important, calculated risks, work hard, and adapt to challenges. So don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone and embrace change to make your mark." So I thought about this perspective, which challenges the downloady emphasis on groundbreaking originality, suggesting that maybe success lies in reimagining and improving existing ideas. As creatives, of course, many of us experience actual downloads, sudden bursts of inspiration that feel original and profound. But often, these insights might actually be an amalgamation of ideas we've absorbed over time. Is the download truly original? Or is it our subconscious remixing what we already know? Of course, the essence of true originality is a subject of great debate. While original ideas can lead to significant advancements, many successful endeavours are rooted in existing concepts that have been adapted or improved. One of the trickiest questions in creativity is the line between inspiration and plagiarism. If multiple people receive a similar download at the same time, is it theft or simply the natural flow of ideas? Throughout history, simultaneous inspiration has been quite common. Independent discoveries of calculus by Newton and Leibniz, or the near-simultaneous invention of the telephone by Bell and Gray. As an editor, for instance, when some lost treasure or ancient artifact or historical revelation was made, I always expected and received a rash of stories based around that same source of inspiration. And sometimes it really doesn't matter, as the same inspiration might have created a very different download in two or more people's heads. Plagiarism, on the other hand, involves directly lifting someone else's work without transformation. So the key distinction is whether an idea has been developed into something new, infused with a personal touch, or merely replicated. Think about fan fiction. When we refine existing ideas or draw from influences, we contribute to the larger creative conversation rather than merely echoing what's been done before. And the necessity of true originality is also a subject of debate. While original ideas can lead to significant advancements, many successful endeavours are rooted in existing concepts that have been adapted or improved, without the pressure of conceiving entirely new ideas. And it's also very difficult to prove where an idea came from, or that that was the first time that something had ever been thought of. Again, in books, we see this over and over again, particularly with picture books for young children. Books like We're Going on a Lion Hunt, The Wonky Donkey, several titles about dogs and their bottoms. All of these came out to claims that either these stories were familiar to many, having been narrated through generations, or that someone's great-great ancestor had actually had the idea in the first place. Hard to prove and difficult to let go, especially when someone has converted that idea into a money spinner. So that, I suppose, is more like the method Paphitis champions, taking something that exists and refining it, making it better, more efficient, or more relevant. Think of it as standing on the shoulders of giants. But is one approach superior to the other, or do they work in tandem? And is this version inspiration, or is it information? Well, maybe it's both and. Building upon established ideas is a time-honoured approach to innovation. By analysing and enhancing what already exists, individuals can create improved or maybe more accessible versions. This not only fosters progress, but also makes innovation more attainable, as it doesn't rely solely on unprecedented breakthroughs. We've got so many examples in literature, art, business. William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet wasn't an original story. It was inspired by earlier Italian tales, yet his execution made it legendary. Pablo Picasso's development of Cubism was influenced by African art and the works of Paul Cézanne, but he reimagined them and revolutionized the art world. In business, Steve Jobs and Apple didn't invent the personal computer or the smartphone. Instead, they refined existing technologies to create user-friendly, aesthetically pleasing products that transformed the industry. And I do believe it can be easier and more productive to be in the second wave than the first, where the idea is lodged but unrefined and sometimes unaccepted. So, Dragon's Den Theo warns against waiting for the perfect light bulb moment. The most successful people, he says, take calculated risks, work hard, and adapt. If we sit still, waiting for an entirely original idea to strike, we might never move forward. Instead, the key is to take what we have, what we know, and do it better. For me, though, one of the most striking aspects of a download is that it often pushes us forward into something very new, often something we're uncomfortable with, as it requires us to change more than just our thoughts. These moments of inspiration can act as catalysts for transformation, propelling us way beyond what we thought was possible. Unlike methodical action, which builds gradually on what already exists, inspired action is immediate, driven by energy and urgency, and when we receive a download, it can feel like a force demanding movement, change, and bold steps into uncharted territory. And on this, I agree with Mr. Shark Tank. Perfectionism is a barrier to progress. Sometimes we just have to jump in. So, this is where the difference between inspired action and methodical action comes into play. Inspired action is intuitive, spontaneous, deeply connected often to passion and purpose. It can defy logic and conventional wisdom, but it has the power to lead to groundbreaking results. Methodical action, on the other hand, is structured and disciplined, focused on continuous improvement. Both are valuable, but knowing when to trust the download and when to refine is key to sustained success. And as always, the answer probably lies in balance. The download, those moments of inspiration, can provide direction, but execution and refinement are what bring success. The challenge for us as creatives is recognizing when to follow a fresh insight and when to build upon something that already works. It might be about doing something older in a new way, a contemporary way, a less comfortable, but a fresh and exciting way. So, I've taken on this challenge. Long ago, there was a TV series called Jillanory, where actors sat in a winged-back chair and read a book directly to the TV camera, similar to the bedtime stories that are about now. A less long time ago, I thought, what if instead of Jillanory, I created Jillanory with my own books? As you'll be aware, I've written many books in various forms. I've also done some Amdram in my time, and now I have a podcast. So what if I take those already written books and that love of acting and the familiarity with podcasting technology, and I turn them into something contemporary, something that I'd never actually heard of until a few months ago, a fiction podcast. Well, I'm sharing here my first attempt at one little prologue. This, for me, is scary, and it's very, very far from perfect, but it's a technological download of an inspirational download. Both end. It's time to jump. The Legend of Matilda Peppercorn, Book 1, Catgirl. Prologue. The legend begins. The hag lifted her blackened, empty eye sockets to the horizon, her hooked nose sniffing the salty tang of the Aegean.
Someone most unwelcome passes through our gateway. I smell the hippo he rides on, she hissed. On our night of witches of all nights. She kicked out furiously at a cat-shaped balloon. He must have known that tonight we honor the sisterhood.
It is as prophesied. He seeks the list of legendaries, cried a second sister, grey hair whipping around her shriveled head in the ferocious wind. Quick, on pain of death, must we hide the true name from his vile sight? Withdrawing a dagger from her sleeve, she twisted its willow handle, slid a tightly bound scroll of parchment onto her palm, and exhaled all over it. Silver-green saliva trickled inside the tube, leaving a trail of sparks as it dribbled out of the other end. The third sister scrambled to her feet. Let me take it. I am the strongest, so I will hide it. We're all strong, triplet, the first hag muttered scathingly. She angled the single eye shared by all three blind women from one sister to the other. Born old and wise as protectors of the Gorgons? All wise, all very, 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 very old. Why do we not go together? Because we will waste more time arguing, snapped the third, sightless witch. Stay here and await my triumphant update. With that, she snatched both the eyeball and the parchment from her sister's gnarled fists, then flung herself across the mighty cliff overhang that protected them from those who sought them out, looking for the truth, for healing, for destiny. Or in this case, an ancient register of names, magical children who could save which kind from extermination. She soared among the thunderclouds, her outstretched arms bristling with spiky black feathers, her body twisting into the form of a cawing, swooping vulture. In one claw she clutched the scroll, in the other the eyeball, which she swept across the obsidian sky to seek out the infiltrator's shape. The blasted hippo reeks of sweat and wrongdoing, she called to her sisters. He thunders close, yet I cannot see. No, snarled a voice directly beside her. You can't. The hag gasped. The night itself seemed to have solidified into pure galloping evil. A pair of mocking yellow eyes lasered through the darkness towards her. He lied, she screeched in warning. But before she could gather herself back into witch form, a band of metal attached to an enormous foot struck her fragile bird skull. She felt her bones splinter as she tumbled from the starless sky and thumped onto the sand below in woman form. She searched and searched for the terrible stranger in their midst. But it was no good. He had vanished back through their own party portal. And, she checked her rather fractured hand quickly, so had the list of legendaries. Snatched it, he did, she wailed. He took it! Her two blind sisters swooped down towards her voice. I have never felt such evil, not since... Told you I was stronger. The first sister folded her arms nastily. Never mind that. No, it is not strength we need, it is sisterhood, cried the second sister. Our Shimmer hid the true name when I extracted the scroll from the dagger of the mythical daughters. But the other youngsters are in grave danger. Her two siblings glared at each other from their shrunken eye sockets for a long, hostile moment, and then nodded. Aye, they muttered reluctantly. If they are in danger, then so are we all, added the third hag. We must invoke the legend before the solstice, or all will be lost. Yes, yes, yes. Leaning towards each other, they laced their arms together into a tripod on the sand, pointing their knobbly hands skywards. Lightning crackled from their intertwined fingers in a sputtering fountain. Legend! Live! No! Silence, as deep and dark as the horrible blackness around their unwelcome visitor, swamped the cliffside. Had it worked? Suddenly, all around them on the shoreline, crab-like creatures as black and shiny as scorpions emerged from the sand, scrabbling towards their feet, scattering across the beach in what appeared to be a random pattern. Then, just as suddenly, the crabs lay as still as rocks. Special, magic rocks. Runes. Holding their eye aloft so it bobbed in the lightning stream, the Grey sisters screamed every word of the mystic markings on the runes, their terrifying voices echoing the icy wind, raw, feral, ancient. All around their worlds,
The sisterhood would hear them. It was legend. It was law. Defender of the Trinity and all the sisters' legacy, a child of unknown birth will be selected by the Guardian Three.
Thanks for tuning in to the Download podcast. Feel free to like, comment and share and all of that good stuff. And for more about my books, coaching or business services, please check out wisewomanandwordsmith.com.